reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's up, everybody? A very happy Friday. Thanks so much for joining us. It's PTL time. Thank you for being with us. One of the fastest growing shows, I think it's fair to say, throughout the country, and we're glad you make us a part of your day on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, the FM AM dial KSHP. We're on Twitch, we're on X, we're everywhere, and we appreciate you being a part of our show. A lot to get to here today, including Caroline Leavitt doubling down on this DEI nonsense, blaming DEI for the crash, where I do find it interesting that it's two white pilots and an orange man who gutted the FAA in Donald Trump. But yet, let's blame it on black people and transgenders. It is ridiculous. We are going to get to that. We are also going to be talking reaction, where I want to talk about the victims as well. I think that should be most important. I'm going to talk about some of these people that lost their lives and their families and friends, and I think that's also really important to do in a tragedy like this. But without further ado, I wanted to start off the show today in talking about DEI, somebody who has a ton of empathy for others, who I have so much respect for, and I wanted to get his thoughts on this crash and how the Trump administration get my friend Don Lemon joining us right now on the show. Don, thank you again so much for being here. I know how busy you are. It means a lot. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Are you trying to say that I'm a DEI hire? Is that why you have me on here today?
That's exactly why, because you have experience, right? You've only been hired, Don, not for your experience, but just the color of your skin. At least that's what Caroline Leavitt would probably say.
Yeah. Well, anybody at the, I don't know. I just got off of a plane, and this has just been rummaging around in my mind the entire time since it happened yesterday. Just the audacity of these folks to say what they said yesterday, to do what they did yesterday, and to have four white men who are all four completely unqualified for the jobs that they have by their definition of what DEI is. Then they are all DEI hires because they're unqualified for their job.
Don, I feel like it's a new low. I mean, they haven't even taken all the bodies out of the water yet. As you know, some of these people, young, 13, 14 years old, just such a horrible tragedy. And Don, it's amazing. They wanted this helicopter pilot to be transgender so badly. You just go on social media the last 24 hours.
Oh my God.
That was
transgender black person, transgender black lesbian would have been with a disability.
Yeah.
They would have seen what we said. Oh my gosh.
Don, I feel like this is a new low. I mean, without even knowing the cause of the crash or the names of the pilots, the color of skin or anything, which has nothing to do with this, by the way, we agree on that. What does it say about where this administration is now and where it's going to go over the course of the next 4 years? You saw Caroline Leavitt, she held another press conference today, doubling down. Peter Doocy at Fox News says, should people be afraid of flying commercial airliners right now because of DEI hires? That was actually a serious question, and Caroline doubled down on it. I mean, what do you make of this as a black man living in this country? I mean, it angers the hell out of me. I can't imagine how you feel this.
Well, what angers me is that people don't understand what DEI really is. And I'm sure over the last couple of days, you've been doing your research on it. The biggest recipient of, diversity, equity, and inclusion, those hiring practices are white women. And number two are white male executives. And then you can go down the line for Asian Americans and so on. The people who get the least benefit out of it are African Americans. So it's not something for black people or people who have disabilities or anything like that. It's usually just to make, try to make the workforce equitable, right? So how do I feel about it? It's insulting. I'm tired of being outraged by the things that Donald Trump does and, all of his folks. So I'm going to figure out a way, and I'm figuring out a way that I have to moderate it, because you just can't be outraged by everything. Look, this is just flat out pure racism. And I think that folks who have a platform like you and like me, we have to continue just to call it out. But how does it make me feel? I'm not surprised by this BS, this bullshit that they pulled. I'm not surprised that there were four white unqualified men up at the podium yesterday doing what they're doing. I shouldn't say I'm not outraged by it. I'm surprised at just how how bold they are about it, and just the outright in your face racism and ignorance. I think MAGA should be embarrassed.
Yeah, I agree with you, but they won't be. Again, they'll all double down on it, and just like a Caroline Leavitt, they will back Donald Trump no matter what he says, no matter what he does. And I thought Jasmine Crockett put out a great tweet yesterday, and she went down the list, Don, of talking about what Donald Trump has done just in the last week and a half with the Aviation Security Advisory Committee and the heads of the Transportation Security Administration and all the firings. And I don't want to sit here and politicize this. I know you don't, but the people who are politicizing it are the ones that got the FAA, right?
Yeah. Well, I started my show yesterday by saying, look, my heart goes out and my condolences to all the victims and their families. Right. But this is what's happening. Before the sun even rose yesterday in the entire country, there were people going on Fox News saying that it was a DEI issue, and we had to look into that, and it was awful that the standards for flying and pilots and all of that have been lowered because of DEI, and it's all just lies. And look, it's after I think the last 2 weeks, honestly, I don't understand how MAGA again is not embarrassed. I don't understand how Caroline Leavitt has a job when she's the reason that they had to put this, the hiring freeze on the hiring freeze back into practice because of something that she said on social media and her comments at the podium. So it's just the gang who couldn't shoot straight.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you how she has a job, Don, because she wears that cross on her neck, and she's a blonde white woman, and she's willing to do and say anything for Donald Trump. That includes lying. That's what Donald Trump wants. He just wants loyalty and someone, a white blonde chick that can get up there to the podium and say and do whatever he wants her to do. That's how she got the job.
Brian, when you watched it yesterday, there was something that stood out to me. I'm not sure if you noticed it. Did you watch the press conference when they all got up there?
I did.
Not one of them really addressed the media or the American people. They all stood there and said, Sir, we're going to do this. Sir, we're going to rid the Department of Defense of diversity. Sir, thank you. And it's like, why are you talking to him? I think these people forget, especially Donald Trump and all of these DEI hires that he's appointed. I think they forget that they are actually public servants and they work for the American people. They need someone in that briefing room and someone in there to call them out and say, hey, let me just remind you that the people in this room who pay taxes, who you're being rude to, Caroline Leavitt or Donald Trump or whomever, we pay your salaries. We're the reason that you are here. So have some respect and let us ask questions and don't cut us off. And the same thing for Donald Trump, who says to people, shut up. It's like, no, you don't tell me to shut up. I tell you to shut up. As a matter of fact, I am your boss. And I think they forget that. You're
right, Don. This is about giving information to the American people, but they're turning it into campaign rallies the same way that Donald Trump turned the COVID press conferences into campaign rallies. Supposed to be giving information to the media and to the American people, but instead, these are campaign rallies. Trump has done this. He's done this. He's the king. He promised he would do this. He's going to do this. That you're so right about that. What did you make of the comment when asked yesterday? This was another despicable statement that Trump made when he was asked, are you going to go down to the crash site? And now, why would somebody ask that question? Fair question. You want to meet with first responders. You want to get information from people that are firsthand investigating and trying to get dead bodies out of the water.
Yeah.
And his response is, well, what? Do you want me to swim? Yeah. Can you imagine if George W. Bush said that about 9/11? Are you going to go down to the site of 9/11? And he said, well, what? Do you want me to just trip over rubble? I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. And it's idiocy. And I understand what the reporter meant. And anyone who has any couth would have said, yeah, I would love to go down to the command center and down to where they are recovering bodies and speak to people, right? Rather than saying, what do you want me to go swimming? We know the crash site is in the water. And by the way, you're the president of the United States. If you want to get a boat, they can find a boat for you. So it's not really out of the question. Again, Brian, I think it goes back to lack of respect, especially how he treats the media. He thinks that he's the boss and that those people are his employees. It's the other way around, buddy.
Yeah,
you work for us. You should be looking out for us. So let me ask my question and don't try to insult me and I won't try to insult you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least ask you a question about Jim Acosta. I know you're a colleague of yours for years. What are your thoughts on Jim Acosta stepping down? Do you feel like it was just one of those situations where they were, in a way, demoting him? By the way, I love Jim Acosta,
It wasn't in a way. They were demoting. I mean,
what are your
you put someone on at midnight, unless you're going to give them a late night talk show, right? And you're going to design a talk show around them to compete with the big boys. So what do I think of it? What is your question?
Yeah, I just want to know your thoughts on that, because I know you had a pretty good relationship with Jim. I just wanted to get your opinion on it.
I think that I'm very proud of what Jim did. I think that in a world of people who are going down to Mar-a-Lago and kissing the ring, and people who are and news organizations who are getting rid of people who hold Donald Trump to account, I think we should all try to be more like Jim Acosta, which is Jim. He'll tell you he's not doing anything extraordinary. He's just doing what a journalist is supposed to do. And I think that journalists and journalistic organizations have forgotten that. They think that they are, well, not that they think that they are, they have become the sort of embodiment of the corporate structure that surrounds them. And there's supposed to be a wall between the corporate owners and the corporate overlords and the journalists. And I think that we need to somehow get the American people to realize that, and also those corporations as well. And there needs to be some sort of regulation or something that keeps a journalist protected. Otherwise, you're going to end up with state-run media. So I wish Jim the best. I sent a whole bunch of people over to his Substack the other day. He didn't text me back, but just he didn't text me a thank you. But when I see him, I'll have something snarky to say to him. But I'm very proud of him, and I wish him the best.
I'm sure he would appreciate that. I think you and Jim have a lot in common. You have a lot of integrity. You seek the truth. You challenge people on both sides. And, I'm sure Jim will be just fine, just like you're doing great. I'm sure Jim will be just fine. Last question, Don. On a normal day, if yesterday was a normal news day, we would be talking about the confirmation hearings a lot more, right? We'd be talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard, right? What does it say that a guy like Kash Patel raises money for people who attacked the same Capitol police officers that were protecting him yesterday, or a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. who doesn't even know how Medicaid works? You want to talk about unqualified, forget about all the conspiracy theories and the crazy things that he says. And then a Tulsi Gabbard who is clearly a Russian asset. What does it say about these three people?
What does it say about them? Well, it shows why they're there. Because Donald Trump wants people to do exactly what he says. And all of these people are tarnished in some way. And so that sort of protects him, because they're not going to buck him. And so it gives him some protection. And they feel that because they are tarnished in some way, that they are beholden to Donald Trump, right? And so they're just going to do what he says. And so it works for both of them. But by the way, when I started my show yesterday, I was telling the producers were like, well, we're supposed to be covering the hearings, but then we have the plane. Which one do you want to cover? I said, they're connected. Mm-hmm. Because the people who are in those Senate rooms and who are being questioned, that's why it is important to pay attention to that, because we're going to have those people are going to be in charge of the biggest institutions and organizations that affect our lives. Mm-hmm. Health and Human Services, the Department of Transportation, which has a huge role in the plane crash, and so on, the Defense Department. And so that is why you're having those hearings, to hold those people to account and to make sure the American people know everything about them, transparency, and if they are qualified for the job. But the sad thing is that we are in such partisan times now that nothing matters. And all of those unqualified people are going to end up in those positions. And so there you go. Now you know the consequences of an election.
Sadly, I agree with you. In closing, Don, I do want to say this. I get messages from people every day that say, man, I'm really liking this new Don Lemon. And I say to myself, I don't think this is a new Don Lemon. It's just a free Don Lemon. This is the way I think. You're a very funny guy and you're honest, but there were things you couldn't really do on CNN that you're able to do now. I find it quite enjoyable. I think it's great. But I talk to these people. I don't think this is a new Don Lemon. It's just a more free Don Lemon. Is that a fair characterization?
That's a fair characterization because, I represented some 42 or 4,500 other people and a global brand. And so I had to be, a little bit more careful with my words, but always don't let people fool you, journalist. It's always in the back of your mind that, am I going to get in trouble? What is the boss going to say? Even if it's just a little bit, am I going to lose my job? Is a shareholder going to get mad and then call up the boss and tell him to get rid of me or pipe down, or I'm going to lose an assignment? That's always in the back of the head. My contract is coming up. It's always there. But for me, I would just forget that I was on television and have conversations. And that's how I end up being an independent journalist. But this is always me. You remember 7 years ago, I opened my show and I said, "Good evening. This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. The president of the United States is racist." And here we are 7 years later, Donald Trump is back in office. And guess what? He has been proving me right for the last 7 years. So I intend to take that energy into 2025. It's not a different Don Lemon. It's just a more liberated Don Lemon. It's always been here.
You were right then, and you're certainly right now. Don, you're the best. I always appreciate it when you take time to come on this show. I know how busy you are. I just think you're the best, man. Just keep up the great work.
I think Brian Shapiro energy is rubbed off on me. Don't you think?
When I saw that,
good, man. It feels good. And people get pissed, and I'm like, but where's the lie? I'm not lying.
I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw that first video you did when you went viral, this was like maybe a month ago. The first thing I said is, "Geez, I wonder if I'm rubbing off on him just a little bit."
I don't know if it's a bad or good influence. It's like the little devil on your shoulder. But actually, it was, it's just fun because I'm laughing at. Sometimes you just have to laugh at the ridiculousness of these MAGA brain people who don't think for themselves and who don't even realize now with this whole DEI thing and the freezing of federal funds that they're going to be the ones who are affected the most. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys, it's idiotic.
It is. I'm just waiting for you to use the term MAGA buffoon. That'll be next. Okay. You're allowed to use that, Don. You're a MAGA buffoon. I'm waiting for that, and then I'll be the first one to text you.
Don, I was really, did you see Senator? I know you have to go. Senator, is it Murphy yesterday, who actually said bullshit? And I was like, finally, it's about
quickly before we go, it's interesting you said, because I had Jasmine Crockett on the show last week, and oh man, she fights fire with fire. I just love Jasmine. I just think she's the best, and she could run for president one day. I just think she's got a bright future. And I told her, and she agreed with me, we need more people like her. Yeah. We need more people like her that can fight fire with fire. Go after Marjorie Taylor Greene when she insults your appearance. Go after Nancy Mace when she makes idiotic comments about transgenders. We need more people like Jasmine Crockett. I'm sorry, Nancy Pelosi. I'm sorry, Chuck Schumer. Step out of the way. Let's get younger, brighter, and more energetic people that are willing to fight fire with fire. I just think she's a perfect example of that.
In leadership positions.
Yes. Amen, brother. Yeah. Don, I love you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on, and look forward to talking to you again soon, my friend. Have a good one, okay?
Buffoon, okay?
I love it. I love it. Don Lemon 2.0. Don, you're the best. Be safe out there in LA. I appreciate you. There you go. Don Lemon, everybody. Always has been one of my favorites for a lot of different reasons. First of all, he's a good dude. He's just a nice guy. He's got empathy. He's caring about other people. He's extremely intelligent. He's on the right side of history. He cares about people. And he's really good at what he does. And I watch him on YouTube religiously. He does a great show. Usually when I'm off the air at 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, he's on the air and he starts his show. There have been a few times where I've tried to run out to do his show. But please check out Don on YouTube and on social media. He does such a great job. He's such a good dude. And he's also very funny, by the way. Very funny and very entertaining. And I just love Don to death. He's the best. We got to get him in studio one of these days if he ever comes out here to Las Vegas. All right. So on his first day in office, Donald Trump froze hiring of federal employees. That also included air traffic controllers. And on January 20th, if some of you recall, Elon Musk pushed out the chief of the Federal Aviation Administration. Now, It's also interesting to note that there is no acting replacement. And there was no acting replacement until after this crash. And then on January 22nd, the Aviation Security Advisory Committee, those members were told Trump was cutting members of all advisory committees in a commitment to eliminating the misuse of resources and ensuring that DHS activities prioritize our national security. Trump also fired the heads of the Transportation Security Administration and the Coast Guard. This all has happened in the last week and a half. And when we date back to June of 2023, the United States Department of Transportation Inspector General found that 77% of air traffic control facilities critical to the industry's daily operations were short-staffed. Do we know exactly what happened at Reagan International Airport? No, but we do know that there was one person up there that was doing two jobs. But yet, Donald Trump is blaming DEI hires. Donald Trump is blaming Joe Biden. Donald Trump is blaming Pete Buttigieg and Barack Obama. He's blaming everybody but himself. And in the press conference today, Caroline Leavitt, who has done this show before, she is an absolute imbecile, a fake Christian, a thief as far as I'm concerned. Just look at the campaign funds that they stole when she was running for office. But she'll wear that cross on her neck and act like the good Christian, white, blonde Christian that Donald Trump wants her to be. Peter Doocy's also one of the worst, as I call him Peter Douchey. She held a press conference today doubling down on all the lies and the misogynist propaganda and the DEI nonsense that Donald Trump brought up yesterday. And Peter Doocy, being the moron that he is, asked a very stupid question, which is it safe for these people to fly commercial airlines with all these DEI hires?
If President Trump is telling us that air traffic control towers are staffed with unqualified controllers, these DEI hires who never should have been brought on, then it's not safe to fly commercially, is it?
The president was asked to answer this yesterday, and he believes that it is still indeed safe, and Americans should feel safe traveling our skies. With that said, two things can be true at the same time. And we certainly have seen the deterioration of federal hiring standards at the Federal Aviation Administration. And the president wants to increase those standards. He wants pilots in this country who have the great responsibility of flying American citizens by the tens of millions every single day to be chosen for that position based on their merit and their skills. And so the administration will continue to prioritize this.
Yeah, you guys really have prioritized it, haven't you? Yeah, you've done a wonderful job. There we go. What a stupid question from Peter Douchey. What a dumb question. I'm sure that's what Americans are thinking right now. Boy, I better not buy a plane ticket because of all these black pilots. I mean, it's so absurd. It's so ridiculous. Have any normal human beings that are listening to this show now thought to themselves, geez, I better not have a transgender as my pilot because they're not qualified. I better not have a woman as pilot because they're not qualified. I better not have a minority flying this plane because they might not be qualified. It's so absurd and it's so ridiculous. And then during the rest of this press conference, Caroline Leavitt doubled down on her racism. Listen to this, real racism by the press secretary in real time. Have a listen to this.
I've answered on this subject. When you are flying on an airplane with your loved ones, which every one of us in this room has, do you pray that your plane lands safely and gets you to your destination, or do you pray that the pilot has a certain skin color? I think we all know the answer to that question, and as President Trump said yesterday, it's common sense.
No, it's not common sense. It's called racism and bigotry is what it is. It's not common sense. You are a bigot. Donald Trump is a bigot. Pete Hegseth is a bigot. So many in Donald Trump's administration who happen to be white, shocker, and so many white people across the country that are MAGA supporters are bigots. They're racist. That's exactly what this is. This has nothing to do with common sense, and it has everything to do with racism. And then there's Stephen Miller. Don't even get me started with Stephen Miller. This guy might be the biggest moron and the biggest racist hater that we've ever seen in public office. Listen to Stephen Miller go on a rant on Fox News about DEI hires and doubling down what his orange orangutan leader said about the crash.
It certainly is something we better learn from fast if we want to prevent it from happening again.
Well, it's absolutely heartbreaking and it's devastating, but even more so because it's so preventable. As President Trump said today, over the last 4 years, the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, and air traffic control under Joe Biden have been dedicated to a mission not of public safety, not of safe aviation, but of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they've pushed an agenda trying to advance social engineering, political ideology, trying to hire people at the FAA who are not capable or competent for the job. And that completely changes the agency culture. It means instead of spending 4 years trying to solve these systemic problems, all these near misses, instead all that intellectual capital at the agency is spent trying to meet these programs and trying to fulfill these quotas. And it prevents the agency from developing the systems, closing the weaknesses, and establishing the protocols to prevent a tragedy like this from occurring. And it's why President Trump, on just his second day in office, issued an order to re-implement his previous standards and then to declare that all DEI is ending and the agency shall put competence, quality, and qualification above all other considerations. And that will be the rule going forward. But again, we've seen over 1,000 near misses in just the last year under the Biden administration. And we have jeopardized public security in a way that is unthinkable and tragic, Sean.
No, you've jeopardized public security. You are the people that decided to release those who attacked police officers on January 6th, white supremacists. No, you're the ones that have pushed an agenda. You're the ones, after hours after a plane crash and a helicopter collide and everybody is dead and they haven't even taken out all the dead bodies out of the water and some families haven't even gotten confirmation, you're the ones who are spreading the propaganda and the hatred and the bigotry. You're the ones who are blaming it on DEI hires when you have absolutely no idea what you are talking about. Donald Trump's entire administration are DEI hires, a bunch of people that are unqualified that kiss the ring of Donald Trump. You guys are the ones that are doing the DEI hires. Have you seen the hearings? Whether it be a Pete Hegseth or a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. who can't even explain Medicare, or a Kash Patel who doesn't even understand how the FBI works, wants to abolish the FBI headquarters, or a Tulsi Gabbard, these are DEI hires. Those pilots that lost their lives, we don't know exactly what happened. We don't know exactly what caused this crash. Clearly mistakes were made, but there is zero evidence that any of these people were hired because of the color of their skin. Oh, by the way, they were both white pilots. You're the ones who are pushing an agenda. This is a Nazi playbook. I have no problem in saying that. You guys are following the Stephen Miller Nazi playbook. Americans need to be with Americans. Americans are Americans. You are following the Nazi playbook. You are the one who are doing it. You are deporting many people that are nonviolent criminals that have been living here for decades. Why? Because they're brown. That's why. Make America white again is a Nazi slogan. That's exactly what it is. It's make America white again. And if Elon Musk isn't speaking to the alt-right, and if Elon Musk isn't talking to a bunch of Nazi sympathizers and Holocaust deniers, he's using the Hail Hitler sign. You are deporting good, hardworking people that don't have the proper documentation. Anytime anything goes wrong in this country, you are blaming black people, you are blaming women, you are blaming gay people, and you are blaming transgenders. Every disaster that has happened, particularly in the last 6 or 7 years, you blame it on DEI hires. The only people that are truly doing the DEI hires are you. DEI hires had nothing to do with the fires in California. They had nothing to do with the terrorist attack in New Orleans. And they certainly had nothing to do with this tragic plane crash that killed 67 people. You imbeciles. You Nazi imbecile, you Stephen Miller. That's what you are. You are no better than Nick Fuentes. No better. Fuentes just says some of that stuff out loud and you keep it right here. But based on your policies, you are Nick Fuentes 2.0. And then there's Jesse Waters. Oh my God, how could anybody watch this imbecile, this talentless boob, Jesse Waters? Listen to Jesse Waters yesterday on Fox News. He's not doing a segment interviewing victims like they did on CNN last night. They interviewed victims' families. They interviewed those who ran the skating rink in Boston where young teenagers were killed and coaches. No, Jesse Waters didn't decide to do a segment about that. He decided to do a segment talking about DEI hires, and not the way that I'm talking about DEI hires, the way that he talks about DEI hires.
How are air traffic controllers not essential workers? I have no idea. And this DEI thing isn't just a race thing. Biden instituted DEI quotas at the FAA in order to recruit workers who were deaf, vision impaired, missing limbs, completely paralyzed, epileptic, people who were severely intellectually disabled, psychiatrically disabled, and dwarfs. This was Biden's FAA just 2 years ago.
We need a diverse group of air traffic controllers to bring distinct perspectives to handle the ever-changing aerospace landscape. I'm calling on students and alumni from HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, and tribal colleges to apply now to become air traffic controllers.
That doesn't mean that they're not qualified. That doesn't mean that they're flying helicopters into airplanes. But Jesse Waters is making the case that that's why this crash happened yesterday. Oh, he's not interviewing victims' families. Here's what I think Jesse Waters should do. I think Jesse Waters should take Lindsey Graham with him, go on a date in Gaza, and never come back. That's what I think they should do. And while all this is going on, after a huge national tragedy, at some point, usually the president makes plans to go down to the crash site, to meet with first responders, similar in a sense in what George W. Bush did after 9/11, when he took that megaphone and he said, "I hear you, and soon the world is going to hear you." Similar to what Joe Biden did after the New Orleans attack, praying with some of the victims and their families. So Donald Trump was asked yesterday, do you plan on going to the crash site? Keep in mind, even to this day and to this hour and this minute, there are still dead bodies that have yet to be recovered. And I want you to listen to how Donald Trump responded to this very fair question by this journalist.
Families of the victims of the plane crash.
I don't want to comment on that.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of the
I have a
first
plan
responders?
to visit, not the site, because you tell me, what's the site? The water?
Or to meet
Want
with the
me to go
first
swimming?
responders down there?
I don't have a plan to do that, but I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously, but I'll be meeting with some of the families, yeah.
Did I hear?
Think about that response. He's being asked as the president of the United States, do you want to go down to this disaster? Why? Any reasonable person would say to talk with first responders, those that are risking their lives, by the way. This is not an easy job to go in those below freezing temperature waters. And to give some people there maybe a little bit of hope and to thank them. There's a lot of reasons why a president will go down to do something like that. And Donald Trump's first response, what, do you want me to swim? I mean, I suppose you could use Donald Trump as a floating device. I suppose maybe you could use Donald Trump in that aspect. I wish they did, by the way. Think about that for a minute. Horrible tragedy. So many innocent people losing their lives. So many, and we're going to talk about this in a moment. They haven't even recovered all the bodies out of the water yet. And Donald Trump's first response is, what, do you want me to swim? In an insulting answer to what was a very fair question. And people can say what they want about Joe Biden. But I think one of Joe Biden's best qualities, in my opinion, was his empathy towards others. He's been through a lot in his life, losing his first wife and daughter in a car accident. Extremely tragic, something you never get over. So he can relate. And meeting with families that are going through the grieving process was, in my opinion, one of Joe Biden's best qualities to this day. That's what we need in situations like this. We need a president with empathy. We need a president that cares about other human beings. And I guarantee you, if Joe Biden was asked that question, he wouldn't have answered it in the way Donald Trump was. It would have been the opposite. He would have said, yes, I am planning on going down there. I'm going to meet with the first responders. I'm going to meet with the victims. And if they want to put me on a boat and show me the work that they are doing, I will gladly do that. And I will be there for them and the victims' families. That's the way Joe Biden would have answered that question. Donald Trump? Well, why do I need to be there in the water? Do you want me to swim? Because Donald Trump is a despicable piece of turd, a horrible human being. And it's disgusting. It's despicable. And I'm going to do something right now that certainly a lot of members of the media are not doing, particularly those on the far right. And I want to speak to you, and it's going to be very difficult to do, but every single time we have one of these tragedies, I think it's very important to talk about the victims and to be there for the families and to talk about their legacy. I was watching the news yesterday, and I was learning of some of the young people who lost their lives. And when I say young, I'm talking really young. I'm talking 13-year-old girls. And it was emotional for me to watch some of these beautiful people, smart, intelligent, some skaters that had a bright future. It was very difficult. But one of the soldiers that lost their life, his name is Ryan O'Hara. He was on board the military Hop helicopter that collided with the American Airlines flight. He's remembered by a fellow service member as one of the finest, most disciplined, committed trainers he has ever worked with. Ryan O'Hara was in his 20s. Kansas biology teacher Lindsay Fields was the president-elect of the National Association of Biology Teachers. She was aboard the American Airlines flight that collided on Wednesday. Sam Lilly had just been engaged. He was awaiting his fall wedding. He was one of the pilots on the American Airlines flight that was minutes away from a safe landing when a collision with an Army helicopter plunged both aircrafts. His father said, "I was so proud when Sam became a pilot." The captain of the American Airlines flight was Jonathan Campos. He was also killed. His family says he was an amazing person, and he loved flying, and he loved his family. I spoke briefly online with Ian Epstein's wife. They are in the grieving process, and they're not ready to do interviews, and I totally understand that. Ian Epstein was a flight attendant on the American Airlines flight, and his wife told me that he was a wonderful man, that he loved life, and that he loved traveling, and he loved his job, and he loved his family. And he'll be missed by so many. He leaves some children behind as well. Asra Hussein Raza, a beautiful 26-year-old woman who was one of many other victims killed in her family, as well as her father-in-law, Dr. Hashim Raza. Forgive me, Dr. Hashim Raza is her father-in-law, still alive, was not on that flight. But sadly, Asra Hussein Raza was 26 years old, beautiful, a daughter of Indian immigrants. She graduated with honors, a very intelligent young woman from Indiana University, and was married to her college sweetheart. They just had been married in August of 2023, 26 years old. And as a Harvard-trained civil rights attorney, Kia Duggins worked for so many that were less fortunate. She lost her life along with two bright young law associates, including Sarah Lee Best and Elizabeth Ann Keyes, also among the victims. Duggins was an attorney with the Civil Rights Corps in Washington, was returning home from visiting her family in Wichita when she died in the collision. And then we moved to, and this is going to be a little bit hard for me because I watched this yesterday and I learned about this, and this is just, it's hard for me to talk about this. Just the age. I mean, it shouldn't matter what age you are, but these were people that hadn't even begun living life yet, really. The Skating Club of Boston, where Nancy Kerrigan trained, has identified a 13-year-old girl as one of the skaters and Jinnah Han as one of the victims. She was also on the flight with her mother. A married pair of skating champions, 2 young skaters and 2 of their parents, were also among those killed in the plane crash. Evgenia Shishkova and Vadim Numov, the 94 world figure skating champions, also lost their lives in the crash. Young skaters Sean Kay and Angela Yang. I mean, this is gut wrenching. Look at these children. These are children. Their whole lives ahead of them. Their coach, Alexander Kirsanov, was also killed. And I know I'm missing some others. I know there was also a 16-year-old skater who lost his life. And it's just unimaginable. I think it's important to send our thoughts and prayers to the families and the friends of these victims. It's not something you'll ever get over. I know that. But hopefully they all know that we are all there with them and we are praying for them and we feel their pain. And we can only hope that they didn't have to suffer, that it was quick. My understanding is that it was. They only had maybe a split second, and the impact was a big fireball, and hopefully they didn't have to suffer. That's all I can hope for. Their losses cannot go in vain. We need to make sure that these types of mistakes, and that's what it appears to be, it was a horrible mistake, that it never happens again. So, those are just some of the names of those that have lost their lives in this horrible, tragic, what appears to be accident. I can't even imagine the pain and the suffering that these families are going through. And while all this stuff is going on, I have to sit here and tell you that the President of the United States and members of his administration are blaming this crash on DEI hires with no evidence to back up any of those claims. It's not bad enough. It's not sad enough that we lost 67 innocent people, but now we have to, as a country, fight the fact that there are bigots that are running the country that want to blame this on brown people and women and transgenders. Can you imagine for a moment? Imagine for a moment what it's like if you had a loved one on this flight. That's bad enough. And then you have to listen, and maybe you're a minority, maybe you're a woman, maybe even you're transgender. And you have to listen to the president blame this on DEI hires. When this is the guy who froze the hiring of federal employees, including air traffic controllers, on his first day in office, but he wants to blame this on DEI hires. It is unfathomable. Here's what we are going to do. We are going to take a break. And I apologize. I got a little choked up there because it's very, very difficult to talk about the loss of life, especially young children. And my heart goes out to their families a great deal. But I also think it's my duty and it's important to do so. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to take your calls. Caroline Leavitt did a press conference today and doubled down on Donald Trump's rhetoric, hateful rhetoric, on DEI hires and blaming it on Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Pete Buttigieg. I want to get your calls on that, your thoughts on that, your thoughts on Donald Trump's first 2 weeks in office, almost 2 weeks, on this Friday. It's your chance to chime in at 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Also, remind all of you, this is an independently run radio show, and we rely on good people like you to help support what we do. So we'd ask that you please check out our website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website, pushingthelimits.live, where you can buy merchandise, shirts, hats, beanies, PTL gear. You could also make donations, $5, $10, $20 a month at pushingthelimits.live. So please check that out, pushingthelimits.live. I want to keep the victims' names and their families and friends in our thoughts. It's been tops on my mind since I heard about this crash, and that is not going to change. Like, I still think about the victims in the New Orleans tragedy. And quite frankly, since 9/11, any big national tragedy, my thoughts are always with the families and the victims, and that will never change. As much as Donald Trump wants to talk about DEI hires and blaming it on transgenders, I will not forget about the victims, and I will not let Donald Trump take over the news cycle with that. 702-221-7283. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to take your calls. 702-221-7283. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercials, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. Our thanks to the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, with the Pass the Puck contest, where you can win up to $500 in free slot play during a Vegas Golden Knights hockey game. Great promotions, great atmosphere, great food. Please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. So I get people telling me every day, hey, why am I getting a busy signal? Well, that's because our phone lines are full. We added a few extra phone lines this week, but the phone lines are still full. So my best suggestion to you is keep trying, keep calling. And that's a good thing. That's why I keep saying this is the most popular and certainly most interactive show throughout the country. Gosh, we take so many calls every day, but that's the way I like it. I want to give you guys the platform to call in, and that's not going to change on this show either. All right, so without further ado, let's get to those phone calls. Let's start off with Tony. Tony is first up on PTL from Minnesota. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Brian, how are you doing today?
Good.
Hey, so this is the first time I've ever called a show, and I stumbled across your show probably about 4 months ago.
Yep.
Right before the election, probably, and I love it. I love every second, and I love it when you rip these MAGA turds.
Well,
Okay?
thank you. I appreciate that.
I have one point to make, or one question to make. Donald Trump's cabinet members that he's nominating, that are supposed to get nominated or whatever,
Yes.
are they DEI hires? Because they're all unqualified.
You're right. You're right. And you know what? Don Lemon said that earlier today. The true definition of a DEI hire are the ones that Donald Trump are putting in his administration. So I agree with you 150%. The answer is yes. These are DEI hires, and they should not be in these positions. They are completely unqualified. They're imbeciles. And, you know, unfortunately, the next 4 years, what we've had to deal with this freeze that they put in place, whatever moron wrote that up, and then the judge had to rescind it. And then you have Caroline Leavitt saying, oh, wait a second, it wasn't rescinded, just a memo. And then the judge said, what are you talking about, basically? I'm going to have to put an order in. I mean, they don't know how to govern. They're unqualified and they're incompetent. So, yes, to answer your question,
Absolutely.
These are DEI hires. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So one more, I have just a couple things. First of all, I wanted to say thanks for pointing out and bringing out those people that died the other day. That brought a tear to my eye. And the reason why I have a tear in my eye is because I have empathy, something that flew out the window for Donald Trump a long time ago.
Yeah.
And second of all, I love Darlene. Darlene, I love you, girl. I hope to hear you soon. Brian,
Yes.
thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Appreciate the call. 702-221-7283. All right, we're going to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, this is Dave from Ohio. We've talked numerous times. Again, everybody, MAGA Darlene's awesome, but I'm glad you are sitting down because there's breaking news. I just saw it. Instead of maybe saying, hey, maybe we need to keep the flags at half staff or anything, no. Breaking news, President Cheeto has just announced that he will be going after the FBI agents in all of his cases. So we're not worried about the FAA. We're not worried about the people to decide. We're not worried about that. We're worried about me.
Oh, this is retribution.
Your day.
This will be 4 years of retribution. You know, it says everything you need to know about Donald Trump and a moron like Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth put his entire military career down the toilet when he decided to listen to Trump and they decided to take down the picture frames of General Milley, take away his security clearance, going after a guy like a General Milley, who, by the way, during the Trump administration and his entire career has done his job. He's an honorable man, but because Donald Trump doesn't like him, because the general wouldn't kiss his ass, we're going to take down his frames in the White House. That's the first thing that Pete Hegseth did. Oh, they didn't hire a federal aviation administrator. No, they gave a replacement until after the crash took place. They didn't even have a federal aviation administrator because they fired the chief. But the first thing they do is take down General Milley's portraits in the White House. This is who Donald Trump is. He is a human piece of garbage. And anybody who says otherwise is complicit at a minimum.
And I'm going to ask you one other thing. How you liking what's happening tomorrow with the 25% tariffs in Canada and Mexico?
Oh, it's an abomination. It's an abomination. It's going to screw our economy. Wait and see what happens. The president of Colombia, by the way, also made a statement in an interview saying, basically, if you're going to return our citizens in handcuffs, then screw you. We're not going to take them. It's interesting how the Trump administration isn't responding to that. This is what we are going to see over the course of the next 4 years. The 2 weeks is a little glimpse into what we're going to see every single day, my friend. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Tony, who's calling from California. What's up, Tony?
Hey, Brian. Always great to hear your show, man. Keep doing what you do. I love it.
Thank you.
So I just found out, was watching a credit words due to the guys over at the Midas Network. They, I guess, when Trump was talking about at his press conference, He was citing the whole DEI policy word for word.
Yep.
Yeah. Apparently, all that came from a pilot program that wasn't launched during Obama. It wasn't launched during Biden. It was launched by his administration.
Ha! What a shocker.
Policy.
What a shocker. What a shocker. You know what this reminds me of, my friend? I'll tell you what this reminds me of. Do you remember when Kamala Harris was being attacked a few months ago with the transgender surgeries for prisoners deal? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Guess who implemented that?
Yeah, it was him.
Exactly. They're so stupid, they criticize programs that they implemented. That's how stupid they are. These people are the dumbest people on the planet.
Exactly. Thank God. I mean, I have not had much love for the White House press corps, asking softball questions, but thank God somebody called him out on it.
Yeah.
I feel like that needs to happen more often.
Well, listen, we're going to have Caitlin Collins in there, hopefully more. We're going to have some people on there that will challenge him, but the overwhelming majority of those people are the ones that have relations with Marjorie Taylor Greene, that are going to, the softball questions. We know that. But there are going to be some journalists that are going to still hold his orange feet to the fire, and that's what we're just going to have to hope for, and keep calling out this nonsense, especially during horrible tragedies when innocent people lose their lives, my friend. I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Mike. Mike is next up on PTL. Hi, Mike. What's going on, man?
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Good. What's on your mind?
Hey, so it's been less than 2 weeks into the clown show, and I just wanted to tell you something that I read on social media and everything. January 20th, Trump fires the FAA director.
Yep.
21st, Trump freezes all air traffic control hiring.
Yep.
The 22nd, Trump disbands the Aviation Safety Advisory Committee.
Yep.
And then the 28th, Trump sends buyout letters to existing FAA employees.
And you know what? And you know who explain? Now I went over this in the first segment, but you know who was the first person to point all this stuff out? Jasmine Crockett. She went on social media and she put out a detail. I love Jasmine Crockett. We need to. Why aren't the reporters in the White House press corps asking these questions to Caroline Leavitt verbatim? Why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they doing it?
I want this. I want every single Republican in Congress to hear this. I want the reporters of the press briefings to hear this. This is the first American mid-air collision in 16 years. This is ridiculous. And it's so frustrating because it's like watching your house burn down, except there's no firefighters around to help you to put out the fire. And I'm so angry. There's innocent lives lost that did not need to be lost. And you're going to blame it on DEI hires? Give me a break.
Yeah, and they were all on their wish list hoping that one of these pilots was a transgender. I mean, that's how sick these people are. My friend, these people are sick. I appreciate your phone call. You're absolutely right. The ones that are making it political are the ones that should look in the mirror themselves. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin is next up on PTL. Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Good to be on the show. This is my first time calling in. I just had a quick question. Well, first of all, also shout out to all my friends in the YouTube chat. I love being in there and listening to the show. So Donald Trump kind of rose out of nowhere and awakened a deep hatred in all of the people. I don't even know how this happened. Do you think this is something we can move on after Donald Trump? He's one of those narcissists. It's like, I'm bigger than you.
That's a really good question. And I don't think anybody's ever asked me that, but I have thought about it. Okay, so here's my opinion. And some of you might not like my answer, but I'm always going to be honest. Until Donald Trump is no longer with us, and when I say that, I'm not saying as president, if you catch my drift. Until Donald Trump is no longer on this planet, MAGA will continue. After Donald Trump leaves office, MAGA will continue. Donald Trump will still be on the media tour. He'll still be, a big part of whatever's going on within the Republican Party. So the answer is no, I don't think it's going to go away until Donald Trump is no longer with us. That's the best way. Now, I do think that if Donald Trump had lost the election, I think that probably would have been the end of MAGA. It would have taken several more months, but I think it would have been over. But the fact that he just won re-election tells me that this MAGA approach is going to continue until Donald Trump is no longer on the planet. That's my personal opinion.
I think you're right, man. And it's sad. I'm almost ashamed to be an American in these days right here. But I mean, I love my country. I love its people, but I just don't understand where all of this came from suddenly like that. It blew my mind. I thought we were past all of it.
I thought we were past all of it too, my friend, and I appreciate your phone call. It's a very good question that you asked. But I'll tell you this much. Apparently, I was wrong, and maybe you were wrong also. We have a lot of bigots and a lot of racists in this country, more than I thought, and even more, that have no problem in sharing their bigotry and hatred to the world. Make no mistake about it. Anybody that calls minorities, in this case, DEI hires is another word for calling them the N-word. That's who these MAGA Republicans are. Don't forget it. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Matt. Matt is next up on PTL. Hey, Matt, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. You know, I remember Trump saying at the press conference when pressed about the DEI hires having something to do with the crash.
Right.
He said, well, of course, because I have common sense. Did you hear that?
That's like saying the Klan have common sense. It's like saying David Duke.
Common sense.
Yeah, David Duke has common sense. Kanye West has common sense. Nick Fuentes has common sense. And anybody else that puts on a white hood has common sense. If that's the kind of common sense that Donald Trump was talking about, then I agree with him. If you're a Klan member, you have common sense. If that's a code word for common sense, then I agree with Donald Trump.
Exactly. You know, Fox News has blood on their hands.
Yes, they do, for a lot of different reasons.
A couple of years ago, they got fined $750 million.
Yeah.
Mostly because of Tucker Carlson.
Yep.
That was just a slap on the wrist.
You're right.
So what do? They replaced Tucker with Laura Ingraham.
Ugh.
Has she done any better?
She is an evil. Let me be very clear so all my MAGA friends can hear me. Laura Ingraham is an evil, racist witch. Shut up and dribble. But then when she has a white supremacist on her show that happens to be a musician, that's totally okay with her. But if you're black, shut up and dribble. They talk DEI hires every day. They attack brown people every day before Nipsey Hussle was even buried. And I guarantee you, Laura Ingraham didn't even know who he was. She was ripping his lyrics when the man was murdered. I mean, this is who Laura Ingraham is. She is a despicable, awful human being. So is Sean Hannity. And Jesse Waters is an embarrassment to the network. Judge Jeanine is a lush. She is a joke. I know I'm missing probably others, but
Mark
Levin, who does a weekly show there, he's just as terrible to look at as he is to listen to. That 4-foot-tall imbecile, Mark Levin, will never interview somebody that he disagrees with because he's a coward. He will only coddle the right-wingers because he's a moron, and he plays himself out to be this very intelligent constitutionist. Are you a liberal? But yet he doesn't even have the wherewithal or the intelligence to actually debate somebody. If I'm wrong, MAGA, tell me, when was the last time Mark Levin interviewed a Democrat? When was the last time Mark Levin interviewed a liberal? He doesn't, because he's a coward and he's not so smart like some of you imbeciles think he is. He's not.
The only real light on that show is that Jessica
Tarlov is great. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she's great.
I don't know how she,
I love her.
People call me every day and they say, how do you put up with all these MAGAs? I would ask her the same question. How do you sit at that table and sit with a bunch of imbeciles? Because that's what she does.
I don't know.
She is so intelligent and so articulate, and I got to get her on the show. A couple of friends of mine that know her say, you got to get her on the show. So we're going to get Jessica on the
That'd
show.
be great.
I promise you we're going to get Jessica on the show, my friend. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, David Pacman is confirmed. David Pacman has reached out to me. He emailed me. Hopefully, I'll be doing his show as well. But David Pacman's going to be doing our show. We already have a date planned. It's going to be in February. So I'm really looking forward to having David Pacman join us. He's another one that I think is great. All right, let's go to Steve. Steve is next up on PTL. Thanks for calling in, Steve. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. How are you doing today?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, it was heartbreaking, when they showed all the young kids that died and everything.
Yes,
and then I started to watch Trump's conference, and I was starting to give him credit because he was acting somber, right? And then all of a sudden he started playing the blame game, and I had to turn him off.
Yeah.
But it also reminded me of when before the pandemic, and he got rid of all the experts, and then we had over 1 million people die.
Yeah.
he has no empathy for anybody.
Do you
and he
remember?
takes no-
Do you remember, sir? Don Lemon said it first segment today. During I think Don Lemon said it. During COVID, when he said, "Well, we just have to, it is what it is." Remember when he made those statements? And when after kids were gunned down in their schools, Donald Trump says, "Well, they have to get over it." This isn't just one statement that he makes after a tragedy. The man has no empathy. He buries ex-wives on the first hole of his golf course. The man has no empathy. He is probably one of the, I don't even know how to put it into words. Did you look at the makeup he was wearing yesterday? How mentally ill this man is? Like, I try not to make fun of people's appearances, but this is the guy who makes fun of everybody else. Did you see the cake that he put? I mean, he looked like he was in the morgue. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just going to be honest. He looked like the clown that he is. And by the way, I'm sorry if I'm being offensive to clowns out there. The guy puts on all this makeup. He looks ridiculous. And yet they're the ones attacking transgenders. I mean, I'm like, I don't get it.
One thing I can't understand is he's an old man. He's
the oldest.
People, millionaires and billionaires are afraid of him.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
The guy's never been in a physical altercation in his entire life. He's had
yes, he was.
He's had
he fought Vince McMahon.
yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Touche. That's a good point, my friend. But that's the only Donald Trump that Donald Trump has been in, because he's always been a phony his entire life. That was a fake fight, just like Donald Trump with his fake teeth, just like Donald Trump with his fake makeup, with all of his fake tanning and his 4 hair transplants. Donald Trump is a fake, and that's the way he's lived his life, just like in a fake wrestling fight. 702-221-7283. Bell is next. Let's go to Bell. Hi, Bell.
Hi. I was wondering if any of our serial killers were DEI hired.
Yeah, there you go.
They were all white.
Yeah. You're right.
And the person that supposedly shot at Trump, he was white.
Yep.
And it amazes me that Oswald got Kennedy from as far as he did, but that kid couldn't even only got his ear.
It is interesting, isn't it, that some of the biggest mass shootings in the history of this country, they are white people. And I'm not saying black people don't commit horrible crimes too, because we know they do.
Either.
Everybody does. But the bottom line here, and I get your point, is that the real DEI hires are those in Donald Trump's administration. They're completely unqualified. They are a joke. And yet they are the ones that are running the show, or are going to be running the show. I wonder, the organization Blacks for Trump, I'm wondering where they're at right now, because the only black person that Donald Trump hired was the head of urban development. Whatever happened? Byron Donalds wasn't hired. Vivek Ramaswamy wasn't hired. Tim Scott wasn't hired. These guys sold their soul to the orange orangutan felon. And they weren't, that Tim Scott was dying to get a job in Trump's administration. Dying. Byron Donalds would have taken a job in a heartbeat. Why didn't Donald Trump choose them? Gosh, I wonder why. Maybe, just maybe, it had something to do with the color of their skin.
Okay, and I just know that none of those people have any class.
Oh, they don't. You're I mean, listen, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. None of them have class. They are white supremacist sympathizers, even the ones that are black, by the way. They are white supremacist sympathizers. Stand back and stand by. Let's release the white supremacist, neo-Nazi, violent criminals on January 6th, one of whom already got into a shootout with a police officer and was killed. I hope he's burning in hell, by the way. And then you had another one who is a sex offender who is now back in jail. It's insane. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Miguel. Miguel is next up on PTL. What's up, Miguel?
Hello, Brian. This is my first time calling here, and I've been watching your show for maybe a couple of months now, I like what you said, and I like what you stand for.
Thank you.
Okay, and now, first of all, my sympathies goes to the families that lost in the crash, in the airplane crash, and also to the soldiers. I'm a veteran myself. I served the U.S. Army, and I'm a Mexican American. Actually, I was born in Mexico. And I've been here since 1970. Okay, and I'm a citizen now. And this, since that point, since I came to this country, I thought it was the greatest. Okay, yes, I have my education, etc., etc. I have a good life. I'm always be proud of this country, the way they treated me. Okay, but now in today's Trump era, it's just going down the shits. I'm sorry to say that.
Well, you know what?
And
Here you are, someone of Mexican descent who has served this country honorably. And by the way, thank you for your service. You're a hero. He's called people like you suckers and losers. He's called people like you rapists. And I suppose some of you are good people. And now he's continuing to wanting to deport people like you, whether you have the proper documentation or not. He wants to deport nonviolent immigrants. Those are the things he says about people like you. What would you say to him?
I would say to fuck off, to be honest with
Well,
you.
we got to watch our language because we're a radio show, but I can understand why you would say that. And you're well within your right to say that, and I don't blame you for saying that. Unfortunately, we can't swear on the air, but I say unfortunately because in my personal life, I swear a lot. Sir, thank you for your service to this country. You are a hero. And I'm so glad there are people like you in this country. I truly am, sir. Thank you for your service. Let's go to, I think we have Bob next, right? If I'm not mistaken. Let's go to Bob, trying to go in order. Here.
Yes.
What's up, Bob?
I want to take you through a little thinking that I did over the last couple of days.
Yes, sir.
I have common sense. And Donald Trump is a DEI hire himself. Let me take you through my thinking of that. In terms of diversity, orange man is a minority smaller than black females. Okay? Equity, he was convicted felon, so he couldn't get hired by McDonald's. There's no age maximum for president.
Yes.
So anybody 75 to 80 years old could get the job, but you can ask 50 to 60-year-olds trying to get a job the fun that they have. So the watered down requirements for president allow him to be a DEI hire.
You're right.
And the last point I'd make is with inclusion, he did not know anything about Project 2025, but signed executive orders for implementing it in the first days and then went to play golf. So obviously he's not other than a DEI hire.
I agree.
My last point I'd make is that Elon Musk would only, President Elon Musk found a person to do his dirty work, and he would only hire best and brightest for his business, and Trump would not qualify unless he was a DEI hire.
Well said, my friend. I agree with everything you just said.
My whole point is he is criticizing people, and he's a DEI hire himself.
And you're right, sir, and I appreciate your call. And speaking of Elon Musk, on January 20th, he pushed out the chief of the Federal Aviation Administration, and Trump didn't appoint an acting replacement until after this plane crash. I would ask Elon Musk, why did you fire the chief? Why? Why did you push him out? Thank you for the call. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. What's up, Paul?
Hey, buddy. Going back to a couple of callers ago, I thought about this morning, and I have a question I want to ask you. Joe Walsh has his podcast called Social Contract.
Yep.
Everybody in this country follows the rules of law because it's a social contract where we agree to live under the same set of rules. Since this country has started, we've murdered Native Americans. We didn't treat women with the right to vote, the right to have credit, the right to get a divorce. It took 200 goddamn years just for black people to have the right to vote. And even though we've had 50% of this country as women, we've never had a woman president. For God's sakes, Mexico has had a woman president. I think that there's just a point where you and I, as optimistic as I would like to be, I think there's some people that just want this to be the Confederacy and they want it to be the South. I really believe that. And there has to be a point where we have to stop giving money to these red states.
Yeah.
We have to just ignore They're racist bigots.
Well,
Donald Trump is a racist piece of garbage.
Paul, here's the easy answer, right? You go to these MAGA rallies, or if you have ever, I go to one because I have to because of the show. You see Confederate flags. You see, F Joe and the Ho. I saw plenty of signs like that. They talk about DEI hires and banning books and attacking transgenders. This is the country we are living in today, when we have a portion of this country who are, many of them, MAGA supporters, who attack black people and gay people and trans people every single day. The last couple days are a perfect example of what we are talking about. We have a terrible plane crash where 67 innocent souls lose their lives, including children and teenagers. And the first thing that enters their mind, including the President of the United States and many within his administration, are DEI hires, and let's blame it on black people.
I agree. So here's my question for you. I am personally, and a lot of people are getting tired of adhering to this social contract. Let them have it. Secede from the union, Brian. I know it's extreme. I get it. I'm in California. We put more into that than every other state.
Yeah.
You would save money on federal taxes. I am tired of having people in red states, Billy Bob, living with his mom in his trailer, saying, I want to own the libs, where their education is last, where poverty is rampant, where crime is rampant, and they're just dragging down this country.
Paul,
is there a point
I agree.
where you would actually consider doing that, honestly?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that, but I certainly don't like where this country is headed. I love America. I'm happy and proud to be an American. At the same time, I'm embarrassed to be an American. And I'm embarrassed that so many people voted for a 34-count convicted felon, liable sexual abuser. We got to get Paul in studio one of these days. Paul, you're a very popular caller here. And I will invite you to co-host with me one day, Paul, because I like you, brother. I think you're a great caller. As someone said in the chat, you're always on point. If you're ever in Las Vegas, I will invite you in studio to co-host a show with me, my friend. Hit me up, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Andy. I have some of the smartest callers, in the country. I'm just going to say it right now. Hang on, Andy. I just want to compliment all of you. I have so many informed, educated callers, and I am so humbled to say that, okay? I just have to say that and say that to all you guys. All right, let's go to Andy. Andy's next up on PTL, I believe. Hi, Andy.
Yes, sir. The other day on my break, but break was over before I got put on. But I've been calling nonstop trying to get on today. I appreciate what you said about all your callers being smart and informed, and I believe I happen to be one of them. I get criticized on a daily basis about not being a Trump supporter and being a white man, but I have to say that I have, like I believe it was Bob said, I have a thing called common sense, which every MAGA Republican lacks.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say I don't understand why anybody voted for him. I mean, I asked a couple of my crew members that I work with that were Trump supporters.
Where do you live, Andy? Where do you live, Andy, by the way?
I live in Red, Tennessee.
There you go. I love the accent, Tennessee. Andy, to answer your question, maybe it was rhetorical. The reason why so many people voted for Donald Trump, the reason why so many of them did, maybe not all of them, is because they're ignorant, they're foolish, they're uneducated. Many people that are uneducated and ill-informed white people that have a lot of hatred in their heart, they watch their Newsmax, they watch their Fox News, they vote against their own self-interest. They're imbeciles. That's the best way I can answer that question, to be honest with you.
Yes, sir. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
And I asked one of them, I said, man, he said, well, maybe I'm just a little sexist. I was like, well, ask yourself this question. When Daddy went to work, who ran the household? He said, my mama. I said, okay, so you're trying to tell me a woman can run a household but can't run a country. He said, I see your point.
What a misogynist, right? What a misogynist.
Right. And I said, they asked me, so you're really not going to vote for Trump? I said, man, I'd vote for a pile of dog shit for a vote for Trump.
So would I, my friend. So would I. And you are so right. Just in that conversation you had, there are so many maggots, morons in this country that do not want women in powerful positions. Simply put. And that's why many of them, besides the fact that she was a Democrat, did not vote for Hillary Clinton, did not vote for Kamala Harris, even some Democrats. They don't want a woman running the country. Sadly, that is where we're at today, and they would rather have a 34-count felon and a sexual abuser be the leader of the free world who puts on his 8 layers of orange cake makeup every day. 70222. Thank you for the call out of Tennessee, my friend. I like you. Thanks for calling in. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. What's up, Ray?
Brian, I'm kind of pissed off today about this. All these people knocking black pilots. Excuse me. Oh, how do I want to put this? It's coming out of our history books about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
They were an all-black elite fighter pilot group that flew cover for a B-17 so that we could all be free. Now, I did my 3 years right after the Korean War, so I'm not a sucker and loser.
No,
and some of them rotten son of a bees, if they want to say something, they can say it to my face. Say I'm the suckers and losers.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I agree. You know, here's the thing, though. I'm going to be honest with you. Donald Trump fears people like you. He's jealous of people like you, just like he's jealous of a General Milley or a Barack Obama. He's jealous of heroes. He's jealous of a John McCain, a guy who risked his life for this country. He's jealous of people like you. That's really what this comes down to. Why is he going after John McCain? Why is he going after our brave men and women in uniform? Why doesn't he like those that have lost limbs serving the country? Because he feels, because he's a nut, he feels that somehow it makes him look bad because these people are better than him, which they are. He's right about that. He is jealous of people like you, and that's why he wants to take down the General Milley pictures. If he had it his way, he would just have pictures of himself in the White House. He's jealous.
Yeah, a number of years ago, I was honored to meet some of the Tuskegee Airmen and shook their hands.
Yes.
They were very honorable people. They did their job.
Yep.
Now, what I feel about Trump should do, take his fake bone spurs, 6 years, shove him where the sun don't shine, put that rotten son of a bitch on the front line.
You know what? He wouldn't last 3 seconds. Let's call it for what it is. Donald Trump wouldn't last 3 seconds, but I would be all for it, my friend. But trust me, the last person I want on our front lines is a fat slob orange orangutan. Give me any transgender. Give me anybody. Give me any woman. Give me any transgender. I'll take it over the orange orangutan any day of the week. Thank you for your service, my friend. You are a hero. Let's go to Jeffrey. Jeffrey is next up on PTL. What's up, Jeffrey?
Hey, I appreciate you taking my call.
Sure.
You may have gotten this question before, but I listen to you all the time on YouTube. I think you're brilliant.
Thank you.
But I don't get to listen to you live. But my question is about mainstream media. Why hasn't anyone asked Mr. Orange Turd why in March of 2006 Barron Trump was born? In July of 2006, Melania got her citizenship. So that makes him the child of an immigrant.
It's a good
but
point.
Nobody brings this up, that his child is subject to the same rules, regulations, laws that he makes everyone else suffer under. I need to ask you, why is this something that common knowledge, but they're scared to ask him?
They're scared to ask because some of them are afraid that they're going to lose their jobs. Some of them are afraid that they're going to be demoted. Look what happened to Jim Acosta. Some of them are afraid that they will get their White House press credential revoked. But let me be very clear on this. The rules should apply to everybody. So if they're going to deport anchor babies and they're going to deport people that have lived in this country for decades that are not violent criminals, then go ahead and deport Barron and send him to Gaza for all I care. If that's the way they want to treat people in this country, or as they would call them, anchor babies, then go ahead and deport Barron and deport Melania because she is a useless piece of turd to begin with. She cares more about selling her Christmas ornaments. She cares more about what rugs were in the White House and toilet seats than they did officers being beaten on January 6th. Melania Trump is just as bad as Donald Trump. She's just a little bit more silent about it.
May I say one more thing? And then I'm going to ask you a big favor, a huge favor. Do you notice when he got the nomination, how Russia put her on blast with all the new pictures, how he said nothing?
Yeah, well, he won't defend his wife. very similar to a Ted Cruz when Ted Cruz's wife was attacked on looks, and he still supports the orange herd. These people have no backbone. They have no character. They treat women like garbage, even members of their own family. What was your question, my friend?
My question is to you, the next time you have someone on this show talking about immigrants going down, could you please bring up the fact that Barron is in the same situation as those people that he's deporting?
I will. You have my promise. I will do that, sir. And that's a really good point, and I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Let's go to Homer. Homer is next up on PTL. Hello, Homer.
Hi, Brian. How you doing, sir?
Good.
Hey, second time talking to you. Love this change. Love everything that you do.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you taking my call. Condolences to all of the families in the crash. It's a horrible thing. I just wanted to say that it's been rough. It's rough enough being a black man in America. Like it's rough enough. And now, not only is it rough to be a black man in America, now it's rough to be a black educated man in America. And, we talked earlier this week, and some things have come to fruition since that happened. So I'm currently in the job market. I'm very experienced, over 18 years of experience in my field, 2 master's degrees. And since Monday, I was expecting to start this position on Monday. And this is the first time in my career that I've had an offer be rescinded.
Wow.
And it's been rescinded. And I had another offer. I had 2 offers in play. I thought both of them would result in offers. One of them was rescinded, and the other one, in which I had 8 interviews. I had 8 interviews. I've never had 8 interviews for a position in my life. I had 8 interviews for this position, and that position was put on hold. Now, mind you, these aren't government positions. It's private positions, private sector positions. But, a job that I fully expected to haven't been started has been rescinded, and the other one
And,
was
sir,
put
may
on
I
hold.
ask you, do
Yes,
you
sir.
feel like this is happening because of this DEI nonsense that the Trump administration is pushing?
I do. I do feel like it. That I've never felt like this before in my life. I've always felt like, it had its place. I've hired and interviewed hundreds of people also as a director level person in my field. And, we always went through the work opportunity tax credits. You always wanted to make sure people filled out those forms so that they could so that the organization could get those credits from the government for that. But it was we never hired people that wasn't qualified.
Let me ask you this. Can I assume that you're an African-American male?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What would be your message as an African-American, a black male living in this country and making the claim, and I believe you, that maybe you're not getting hired or you're not even getting these interviews now because of this DEI rhetoric? What would be your message to Donald Trump?
Well, my message to Donald Trump would be to look at his own cabinet, to look at his own picks, to look at how he sources, and that I would say as a black man, I have a couple of different messages. The first is that we're not going to take it sitting down, because I'm already looking for ways on how we can push back and how we can fight back, legitimately in terms of getting our voices out there and trying to make an impact in not only the community, but in this country, so we need to do something, because I'm finding myself depressed and everyone's asking themselves, what can they do? And so I'm effectively trying to figure out what can I do. But my message to Donald Trump would to simply be, you're probably going to end up reaping what you sow, and it's unfortunate that we're probably going to have to suffer the consequences, of his poor decisions. But the same thing that he's preaching, he's not putting into practice. I'm watching these confirmation hearings, and it's sickening to my stomach. I served under Bush in the military after 9/11, and I thought some of the things that I heard when I got back stateside was deplorable, because it wasn't the things that we were seeing on the ground, and this is nothing compared to that. And the last thing, I have a neighbor about on the other block that waves a Trump flag larger than the American flag. Like, he has this huge, ridiculous Trump flag, and it's bigger than the American flag.
Oh,
but
they're sick. That's what they do. We have a white supremacist in the chat, a MAGA white supremacist who's calling you a victim. What would be your message to him?
That I'm a victim.
Yeah, that's what he's claiming.
To anybody.
Yeah, well, that's the way that's the way a MAGA white supremacist Klan member thinks. You know that.
I'm not a victim. I'm a target. There's two different. There's two completely different things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a victim at all. I've worked for everything I've gotten. I've sweated. I've served under the same American flag. And one of the other callers that mentioned earlier, he said, "Do you think or is it going to be this way after Trump?" And it's something that I've always asked myself, because we have always come together as a country. You know, if there was a common enemy that was foreign, we always came together. Or if there was a tragedy that was domestic, we always have come together with some type of unity. You know, like I don't know how I feel now, Brian, because like that guy that I tell you lived behind me with the Trump flag, it's like, okay, because I'm a registered independent.
Yep.
You know, Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter to me. It's like, okay, who do I believe is doing what's in the best interest of the company and my principles and my beliefs? You know, and so I don't even know how to feel about these folks anymore, because they're right behind me. They live next door to me. You know, and so I don't understand what waving your Trump flag means, because to me at this point, it means that you're just a bigoted, prejudiced. Nobody can tell me at this point that none of this is driven by racism. And so for me to classify you as a racist because you're waving the flag of everything that Donald Trump represents, that's how I'm going to classify
Well, my
you. And
friend,
that's
you know how
it's a scary feeling.
My friend, let me just say this in closing. I'm sorry that you're going through that. Everything you are saying, I am on board with, and I'm sorry you've had to go through this. But make no mistake about it, caller. When Donald Trump says "Make America Great Again," it means make America white again. You call back anytime, give us an update. I'm on your side, my friend, and I really do appreciate your call. 702-221-7283. It's time for the MAGA Destroyer to call in. Let's go to the MAGA Destroyer, Darlene. Darlene, it's good to hear from you. Happy Friday. What's on your mind today? Go.
Hi, Brian. I want to say something to all Americans on both sides, everybody. I want to ask y'all a question. How many more people is going to die because of Trump? I just want to know before y'all realize that he's the spawn of Satan. You do know that this blood is on his hands. I want everybody to know that. And it breaks my heart what happened. Go ahead, Brian. I don't want to be a loud mouth.
It breaks my heart as well. It was hard for me to get through some of the names of some of the victims in this crash. We need to keep them in our heart. And unfortunately, the orange turd sadly makes it political and talks about DEI hires and takes a horrible tragedy like this to take the opportunity to attack transgenders and brown people and women. This is par for the course. We're going to have to deal with this for the next 4 years. It's terrible, but my thoughts go out to the families.
Right.
Darlene, it's a horrible tragedy. And anybody with any ounce
But I have what?
Yeah, go ahead.
I got something else I want to say.
Sure.
I have something else I want to say.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I have a lot to say. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but isn't it sort of funny that on mainstream, on the news stations, they weren't saying anything about all the people that Trump got rid of with the aviation and all the services.
Yes.
They didn't seem to want to put that out. Isn't that sort of funny?
It is. It is sort of interesting, isn't it, Darlene? And I am glad you brought that up, and you make a great point. Always good to hear from you, Darlene. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, my dear. 702-221-7283. I don't know who we have next here. Let's go to Greg. Greg is next on PTL. It's interesting. We got some new phone lines, but our phone lines are still full the entire show, which is a good thing, by the way. What's up, Greg?
Hello?
Yes, Greg. Go right ahead.
Hey, Greg, Brian, first-time caller. I was a second-generation born in Vegas, and interesting enough that I work in the construction field.
Okay.
And a lot of people, talking about how the prices are going to go down. That's what they're all looking for the orange turd to do. And if people have understood how the southwest of the country works, is we benefit off a lot of migrant labor, either documented or undocumented, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when a lot of these people, hopefully they don't get sent back, but if they do, what would happen if there's nobody to build houses and we're already on a housing shortage? What's going to happen to that, along with all the produce and everything like that? It's just interesting to hear their take on.
But Greg, you see, you're thinking ahead, as any normal, intelligent, semi-intelligent person would. They don't think like that. They don't think ahead. They just assume that Donald Trump in office, everything is going to be all dandy and their eggs are going to be 99 cents. They're not going to deport members of my family. No, everything's going to be great. But you're right. When gas prices go up, which, by the way, they already have throughout the country, when inflation goes up, when the unemployment rate goes up, some of these idiots are going to say to themselves, geez, maybe Joe Biden wasn't that bad.
It's really hard to tolerate some of the people that I work with, because there are a lot of, some of the other people that work here are white, and it's like, you people, you support Donald Trump, and that's fine. I don't agree with it, but that's fine. But it's like, you guys are making off a living off supervising people who you want to get sent back. So it's just kind of the irony in there that, like, you want to send people back, but it's like, you may work yourself out of a job too, you idiot.
Yeah, I'm with you, my friend. Thank you. I love my locals, by the way, in Las Vegas. I appreciate you calling in, my friend, and you call back anytime. Yeah, they don't think about the future. They'll spend their kids' college tuition to buy those Trump Bibles and those gold sneakers. Oh, dang. I thought the economy was going to get back going under Donald Trump. What happened to all my money? I want a refund. I bought tickets to that inauguration. I wasn't able to get in. I want my money back. You frickin' idiots. Let's go to Will. Will is next up on PTL. What's going on, Will?
Hey, what's going on, brother? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Hey, I'm a first-time caller, man. I just want to, I'll make it quick, but I think it's a David Pac-Man show. That's when I first heard about you. And, man, I'm a custodian for a public school, and I keep my headphones on, my earbuds, and I got a chance to listen to you about 2 or 3 times. And I'll tell you what, man, you a phenomenal radio host. Just not a phenomenal radio host, human being. Your knowledge is vast. You're witty, and I think you're needed. Your voice of reasoning is needed, and I think that you being white and you just being blunt, I think you can appeal to a lot of white people who support Trump. So I think when they listen to you, you get vulgar and down and dirty just with them. See, Michelle Obama, she said take the Christian Martin Luther King high road,
right?
And they're used to black people doing that. But see, the problem is that Michael Steele said it best. He said, man, you got to it's time for Democrats and people who are now Republicans or who don't like Trump to talk back to him the same way he talked to other people.
Damn right.
He's bullying people his whole life, and he's a very depraved, vile human being. It's time that he has so much subject matter of being despicable, but people never use it against him. Like you're the only one of the few people I hear like getting down and dirty, just being straight up with him.
Damn right.
And
Well, Will, first of all, let me just say I appreciate your kind words. I would like to think that the majority of my listeners are people like you. Hardworking Americans that have jobs that we need, people that do jobs we need in this country, and intelligent people that are on the right side of history that understand the threat and the person, the despicable piece of human garbage that Donald Trump is. David Pac-Man is also going to be coming on this show in a few weeks. We already have a date. And I'm glad that you found my show through David. Listen, I think David is extremely intelligent. I love what he does. We just have different styles. My style, as you pointed out eloquently and correctly, is to be willing to get down and dirty. It's not that David doesn't want to do that. I just think it's just not his style, and it works very well for him. I am willing to get into it with anybody who is willing to have a conversation with me, which many of them are not because they're cowards. But if they want to have a conversation with me in a debate, I have gotten into screaming matches with Larry Elder. I've gotten into debates with Vivek Ramaswamy has done my show. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. admitted to committing a felony on this show, and then The View played the interview the next day. He admitted to giving fake vaccine cards or offering to give fake vaccine cards to his kids. I have gotten into it with Tina Peters, who is now in jail. Tina Peters is in jail. She did this show. Usually they don't want to go back. Roger Stone has done this show, and then he blocked me. He doesn't want to come back. Why? Because I challenged him. Let me tell you something about these MAGA Republicans, because you got me going now. They are such cowards that if you challenge them, they see it as an attack. If you question any of their positions, it could be DEI hires, it could be tax breaks for the top 1%, it could be their stance on abortion. If you, not even being disrespectful, if you just challenge them, they see it as a personal attack because that's what nitwits and cowards they are.
Yep.
That's who they are.
Can I say this one last thing?
Sure.
And I get off because I know you're busy.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the thing is this, though. I served in the military, too, and my father's a retired first sergeant from the Air Force. So, yes, I'm African-American, just for people to give you perspective on where I'm coming from. So my father's a retired Air Force first sergeant, right? And my father's a very proud American, patriotic, but he hates Trump because he knows he's a lie. You know, he's for real fugazi with his patriotism, right? So the thing is this, though. People forget, too, when John McCain had passed away, Donald Trump refused to put the flag at half-mast. People forget that.
Right.
And people were like, he served in, I believe it was the Vietnam War, and he's a decorated soldier, and he's a governor, a politician who served honorably. We need to recognize him at the White House.
Absolutely.
And he never put the flag at half-mast because he has some personal vendetta against them. So my thing is this: the people who support Donald Trump, how can this guy be so patriotic when he has such a bad taste in his mouth when it comes to veterans? The Tuskegee Airmen, he knocked their program out of the Air Force just because the Air Force wanted to teach the new Air Force.
So you're right. He is the opposite of being a patriot. He is a draft dodging coward. And if you want to talk about people with bad taste in their mouth, talk about everybody that works in Donald Trump's administration, including the Pam Bondys, including the Pete Hegseths, including the Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s who might be confirmed. They wear the Donald Trump knee pads, and for lack of a better term, they're the ones with all bad taste in their mouth. Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate you.
Bro.
I love you, too, and people like you are the reason why I do my show, my friend, a hardworking American that can separate fact from fiction. You're a friend in my book. Call back anytime. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Tim. Tim is next up on PTL. What's up, Tim?
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Not much, man. I stumbled across your show here, and there is more racism and vitriol and hatred on any show that I've ever heard in my life on this show.
Wait, you're saying I'm a race? I'm a race? I'm trying to understand. Help me out?
Yes.
So you're
Yes,
saying
I'm
I'm a
saying you are.
racist. Okay. What did I say
Yes.
on this? Okay, that's fine. What did I say on this show today that would lead you to believe I'm racist?
Okay, let's say that I'm not. Let's just say that somebody was out here going around calling Obama a black turd.
No, I didn't ask you about a hypothetical. You called me a racist. I'm asking you to be specific. What have I said on this show today?
When you make somebody fun of somebody because of their skin tone, is that not racist?
When did I make fun of somebody because of their skin color? What did I specifically say? Please be specific. If you're going to call me a racist, I don't mind that, even though it's wrong. Tell me what I said that would lead you to believe specifically that I'm a racist. In fact, I'm doing the opposite. I'm saying the people that are calling out DEI hires are the ones that are bigots. The people that are calling out those that are black and brown people that are pilots are bigots. So I ask you now for a third time, without a hypothetical, what did I say on this show specifically that would lead you to believe that I'm a racist? Go ahead, sir.
What about calling somebody an orange turd?
So you think calling somebody an orange turd is racism? Is that a serious statement, sir? Because I'm not going to take stupidity. You thinking that me mocking Donald Trump because of all the makeup he wears is racism makes you an idiot. So now I'm going to ask you for a fifth time because that was a really stupid statement that you just made. Making fun of all the makeup somebody wears has nothing to do with attacking people based on being black or white. So I hope you're smart enough to understand that. I'm starting to think that maybe you're not, but I'm going to ask you now for a sixth time because you failed every time. What have I said on this show specifically that would lead you to believe that I am a racist? I'm now asking you for a sixth time. Go.
Making fun of somebody's skin tone.
That is not a skin tone, you dumbass. It's called makeup. Are you that stupid? You don't even understand the difference between putting on makeup? Hey, dummy. Do you not understand the difference between somebody? Yeah, I know. You think this is really funny. Ha, 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 with your stupid Tucker Carlson laugh. Putting on makeup is not your true skin color. I'm making fun of Donald Trump not for being white. I'm making fun of him for the fact that he wakes up in the morning and he puts on 8 layers of orange makeup. So now let me ask you a question, idiot. Let me ask you a question. Do you think, I'm sorry, was that racist? Was that racist, sir? I called you an idiot. Is that racist?
No, that's
what
not,
are you?
that's not
Okay,
racist.
good. Thank you. Thank you. So now it's my turn to ask you a question, dummy. When he blames DEI hires for a plane crash that took place without even knowing the pilots or how they were hired or even why the plane crash happened, would you say that is racist, sir? Yes or no?
That's not racist. But
That's not racist. So calling it DEI hires when we have a plane crash without even Trump self-admitting, by the way, he doesn't even know. He said it could be DEI hires, not even knowing the circumstances of the crash is not racist. But me calling him the orange turd because he wears 8 layers of makeup is. Is that your position on this show, sir? And what is your IQ, by the way, to think that? Is that your position, sir?
I'm not as smart as you, obviously.
Well, clearly you're not. You finally said something that I agree with. Let me be clear, and I hope you don't consider this racist. You are your typical white. That's right. I said white. You are your typical white MAGA Trump supporter. You defend the indefensible. You self-admitted are not very intelligent. You have a problem with me calling Donald Trump the orange turd, but yet when he calls DEI hires the reason why this plane crash took place, that's not racist. Sir, what time does your Klan rally start tonight? It's a serious question. Sir, what time does your Klan rally start tonight? Would you like me to send you a white robe through the mail? When does your Klan rally start tonight, Mr. Grand Wizard? You self-admitted idiot. When does your Klan rally? What time does it start tonight? No, you can't, because you're going to miss your Klan rally. You can't talk. You're going to miss your Klan rally today, sir, and I don't want you to be late. You called Donald Trump an orange turd. That's racist. Oh, really? Putting on makeup is a form of racism? I didn't know that. But yet, when Donald Trump says it's a DEI hire, when he doesn't even know how or why this crash happened, that's not racist. Sir, you are an imbecile. That's what you are. You are Donald Trump's base, a middle-aged white guy who is ill-informed and uneducated, and you're probably proud of the fact that you're a bigot. Have a nice day. I hope that was racist enough for you. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Nicole Mitchell's going to be joining us with some positive stories of the day. We need some positivity. We'll take a 90-second break. We'll be back right after this with Nicole Mitchell. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
All right, welcome back. Please check out the official gaming bar at PTL, Pushing the Limits. The official gaming bar is not called Pushing the Limits. It's called Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, with the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games, where you could win up to $500 in free slot play. Great food, great atmosphere. Please check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. It's always a lovely opportunity to have the beautiful and talented former pastor turned OnlyFans model and life coach Nicole Mitchell joining us on the line every Friday. She's not Pam Bondi today. I just want to be very clear on that. She did a very good job playing Pam Bondi. The beautiful and talented Nicole Mitchell. Nicole, how's it going? Good to see you.
It's so good. Happy Friday, Brian.
We muted you for a second. I'm sorry. Go right ahead, Nicole.
It's okay. Happy Friday. It's so good to see you.
It is good to see you too, and so many people you duped. We duped people, or they see it that way because they thought you were really Pam Bondi. So that's a testament to you. You played a very, very good Pam Bondi.
Thank you. Thank you much. Thank you everyone for enjoying that show. Me and Brian had a great time laughing at the comments. We just loved everyone's reactions and responses. That we had so much fun last week.
I liked your responses. They were very identical to Pam Bondi's responses. So I appreciated that. So I love these feel-good stories in such difficult times. Obviously, the plane crash. There's a lot of people going through a lot of things. Here's a story of a woman that hasn't been to the grocery store in 4 years. I would say Donald Trump hasn't been to the grocery store in 80 years. But now she is in the grocery store purchasing items where most of her life, right, had come from getting food from dumpsters behind supermarkets. Tell me about this.
So, America has a huge problem, and I don't think it's just an American thing, but we throw away perfectly good food because of food laws. And I remember in college, I learned this about what this exact thing this woman does. I learned that, Tim Hortons will throw out all perfectly good donuts every single night because they didn't sell them, but they put it all in a clean trash bag and they set it out by the dumpster. So one night when I was an RA at my dorm, my best friend and I went to, I think it was Tim Hortons, went to some donut shop, took the bags of donuts, brought them back to the dorm, laid them all out, and everyone ate them. And then we told them where they got them. They hate us, but they're perfectly good quality. So this woman has hacked the grocery shopping system where she hasn't had to grocery shop for 4 years because she gets everything that is behind the grocery store, which is insane. So she saves money. She uses this money to travel, and she's reducing food waste at the same time.
I think that is so cool. I don't know how safe that is, but certainly pretty cool that she's saving money doing that. Speaking of money, there's a story of this man who recently had passed away, and he left his $10 million to this tiny French town that he never visited before. This is interesting. Tell me about this.
It's just so amazing. I think I'm a generous person, Brian, but if I got a $10 million inheritance, I mean, I don't know about his life. Maybe he did live it up, but I'm just like so shocked when people give that much of their inheritance away. So apparently his family line comes from a small town. He's never visited it though. He just knew it's where his family came from. And his inheritance had originally went to his sister, but then she died and had no offspring. So then it was passed to him. And then he had no offspring. So he gave it back to the city that his family line came through, which I think is so beautiful that you'd give it to a location that you've never even been to.
That is pretty damn cool. I don't know if I'd give it to a city that I've never been to before, but to each their own. I'm sure that the city, those that run the city, are very happy to hear about this.
Happy.
So,
question, Brian, real quick.
Yeah.
If you were given, let's say you're given 10 million and you're at the, and you, or you've had it for your life and you're about to pass away, would you give to a city or a cause, or would you give it to individuals you knew and cared about?
Well, clearly I'd give it all to Donald Trump and his family, his wonderful family, because they're such great people, and I know they would put it to good use. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be honest with you. I would want to donate most of it, or maybe even all of it, or leave it to family members, people that I know, my niece, family, and then I would allow them to do what they want with the money. So if they had a cause, whether it be, I don't know, the Diabetes Foundation or cancer research, I would leave that up to them. I would tell them that. I'd say, listen, I'm going to give you this money. You put it to good use and do what you want with it. And then I would trust them. Does that make sense?
No, I love that.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would do. Since we're running out of time here, you had a lot of fun in Las Vegas, right? We had a lot of fun in Las Vegas last week. It was a really good time. For me, it was kind of therapeutic to be able to get my mind off of some of the terrible stuff that's going on in the world of politics and just have a good time. And it's funny because Nicole and I, we had a little game that she won where we wanted to see how many people recognized us at the Avian Expo. But to my credit, you did see some people come up to me and say, I love your show, right?
So many people came up to you, Brian. And actually, he was the first person to have someone come up to him where they were like, Brian, oh my God, I love your show. But I did tell him he has a little bit of an unfair advantage where in my opinion, I could be wrong, Brian, so let me know if I'm wrong. I feel like it's easier to go up to a radio show host like, I love your show, versus coming up to me being like, I love your boobs. So I think maybe it's a little easier to go up to you. But you had a lot of people come up to you. It was really amazing to watch.
Yeah, it was fun. It's fun to see, fans, whether they're fans of yours or fans of mine, all really good people. And it was just so nice to be in an environment where nobody was being judgmental. Everybody had smiles on their faces. Everybody was having a good time. It was just a lot of fun, and
So fun. And I just want to say for the record, for everyone who's listening, Brian is a fantastic host. He made sure I got put up in a hotel. He took me out to eat. He drove me to so many of the events and parties that we went to. He met me at the expo. Like, we hung out for a lot of that weekend. We went out one night for hours. Like, you were a fantastic host. You're a huge reason why it was such a wonderful weekend. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking such good care of me.
well, that's nice of you. I really do appreciate that. It was my pleasure. And you do get a lot of attention. So that was fun for me to watch. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. I'll leave it at that. But Nicole, it's always a pleasure having you on. I can't wait to see you again. And we will definitely catch up with you next week with some more positive stories. And you have an awesome weekend. Okay.
Thank you, Brian. You too.
Thanks,
Bye.
Nicole. Good to see you. The beautiful and talented Nicole Mitchell. That was a lot of fun having her in town last week. All right. So I get people all the time that ask me, how could I get involved in the show? I love what you do. This is a very unique radio show. And by the way, it's not just a podcast. It's an actual live radio show. We rely on people like you. It's an independently owned show. So to keep the lights on, support what we do. First thing, go to my website, pushingthelimits.live. That's free. Subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. That's free. The third thing you can do financially to support what we do is, buy some merchandise up there. PTL hats, shirts, whatever you like. We sell it up on there. And if you don't want to buy any merchandise, you can always donate. There's a donate button right on the front page. All you got to do is check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live, which is what we do. It's what I try to do on this show every single day. We have some big guests lined up for you for next week. I already said that David Pacman is going to be joining us. You never know what you're going to get, right? In the last few weeks, we've had Jasmine Crockett. We've had, who did we have this week? We had George Santos, for one. We had Don Lemon on today. We work really hard to get you the best guests and controversial guests at times. Brett Raymer came in studio yesterday. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. We will see you on Monday.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show.
No.
You'll be live on the air right here
Just
in Las
like a
Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course
Right
is being
there.
offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024.